This week on Emerge News Now, a vaccine boost from our neighbors. The United States plans to lend Canada over 1.5 million doses of the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine.
Plus, the Ontario Hockey League will receive over $2 million from the Ontario government for post-secondary education scholarships. We'll look into just how much each franchise will receive.
And we catch up with another student athlete who tells us how they have been staying active during the COVID-19 pandemic. All of that coming up on this edition of Emerge News Now.
This is Emerge News Now. With Kristen Wong, Matthew Chong, and Reese Martinez with sports.
Last Friday, the U.S. confirmed that it will be sending 1.5 million doses of the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine to Canada. The announcement was made by the White House coordinator for COVID-19 response, Jeffrey Zients, who also said they would be sending doses of the vaccine to Mexico. Now, the 1.5 million doses, which will arrive by the end of March, is equivalent to more than 1/3 in total doses administered in Canada, a number that will still leave Canada far behind the U.S. in its overall rate of vaccinated citizens. Now, as the U.S. continues to ramp up their vaccine supply, the decision to export vaccines to other North American countries does not affect the country's immunization schedule of having enough doses to vaccinate the entire U.S. population by May 31st. The decision to transfer the vaccines to Canada also involves regulations in the U.S. on the approval of the AstraZeneca vaccine. The U.S. is yet to legally administer AstraZeneca vaccines in their clinics. Sending some of their doses to Canada eliminates the risk of the product being unused or expiring. In the agreement made with the transfer, Canada and Mexico will return the AstraZeneca doses to the U.S. later this year.
Last week, more than 170 criminal charges were laid against 18 different people after York Regional Police busted a multi-province car theft ring. The auto theft ring bust was part of a 2-month investigation called Project Majestic by York Regional Police, which led to the repossession of more than $4.5 million worth of high-end vehicles that were stolen throughout the GTA. According to the police investigation, the vehicles would be exported overseas to Africa and the Middle East, specifically Nigeria, Ghana, and the United Arab Emirates. Last Thursday, York Region Police Detective Scott Cresswell said thieves would scout cars in the evening and return in the early morning to steal them. The thieves specifically targeted different Toyota, Lexus, and Honda vehicles due to their high resale value overseas. After cars were stolen, they would be handed over to traffickers who would either drive the cars from Toronto to the Port of Montreal or ship them in containers by rail. While police have recovered about 60 vehicles, Cresswell said many are currently at sea en route to their destinations but will be returned to Canada once they arrive at port.
Mississauga-based company Renew Computer Technology, or RCT, is helping low-income families by refurbishing and giving out used electronics to households with students who are learning remotely. For the past 12 months, RCT has been repairing computers, laptops, and tablets it receives from donations and offers them to low-income families across Canada. The use of personal computers and other electronic devices has seen a spike in usage due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, despite increasing technological advances, families without access to arranged devices are being left further behind in the growing digital divide. Of RCT's concerns, a student's lack of technology has become an economic and educational barrier for children. Last year, Premier Doug Ford announced schools would not reopen after March break, and many students were forced to purchase electronic devices in order to participate in virtual learning classes. Now, to suffice the need for computers, the organization delivered roughly 13,500 pieces of technology through its 2 computer programs last year. Within this year's COVID-19 pandemic school year, RCT donated 2,500 renewed desktop computers to the Peel District School Board.
Restaurant owners call the threats of a third wave of COVID-19 a, quote, do-or-die moment for the food service industry. The Vice President of Central Canada for Restaurants Canada, James Roulette, said that another lockdown could force some restaurants to permanently close their doors. Roulette said that an average restaurant loses around $30,000 every time the region goes into a lockdown. Restaurants Canada said that Canada has already lost over 10,000 restaurants in the past year. Concerns come as health officials warn of a potential comeback of COVID-19 as cases increase across Canada.
The Congress of Aboriginal People have sent letters to 32 municipalities across the country to ask for support in strengthening a proposed criminal code amendment which could lower the high rate of incarceration of Indigenous people in Canada. Minister of Justice and Attorney General David Lametti introduced Bill C-22 on February 18th to amend the Criminal Code and the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act with promises to withdraw the mandatory minimum penalties for some drug offenses if passed. The federal government said that the new bill will help curb the unequal rates of incarceration of Black and Indigenous people compared to other groups in Canada. The average sentence for simple possession of the 14 of 67 drugs listed as controlled substances in Canada are expected to be reduced as well. The CAP letters also include draft motions to prioritize every available alternative to arrest and incarceration for any individuals in contact with the law, in particular taking into account options for culturally appropriate treatment and healing. CAP Vice Chief Kim Bowden is calling on Justice Minister David Lametti and Public Safety Minister Bill Blair to make sure that Indigenous communities living in rural and urban areas are included in this conversation and that our concerns are taken into account. Now, Bowden also continued by writing, "This is a chance for municipalities to have input and really help their constituents. We have a massive incarceration rate at arrest rate when it comes to our people, and this is an excellent opportunity to change that."
Archaeologists in Israel have discovered new fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls in a desert cave. Among the most prized artifacts in the world, the Dead Sea Scrolls contain some of the oldest recorded biblical texts. The Associated Press reported that roughly 80 new fragments were located in a southern Israeli site known as the, quote, Cave of Horrors, and are believed to have been stashed there during an ancient rebellion. An official at the Israeli Antiquities Authority confirmed that some human remains were subsequently found nearby, as well as what may be the world's oldest basket.
Government officials in Taiwan are scrambling amidst a wave of citizens requesting legal name changes in order to take advantage of a restaurant promotion. The restaurant, Shishiro, offered free sushi to anyone with the Mandarin term for salmon in their name. According to the BBC, government officials who are grappling with COVID-19 and vaccine rollouts urge the public to cherish administrative resources and stop overwhelming government offices. Now just listen to this. According to the BBC, one student in Taichung said she had changed her name to Ko Salmon Rice Bowl and changed it back the next day. Other salmon-themed names included Salmon Prince, Meteor Salmon King, and Salmon Fried Rice.
Metrolinx is demolishing a collection of murals in North Etobicoke to make room for the Finch West Light Rail Transit line. Metrolinx said the stretch of murals sit on a noise barrier wall between Islington and Kipling Avenues that will be bulldozed to install bike lanes, a multi-use pathway, and wider sidewalks. In 2019, not-for-profit organization Arts Etobicoke created the 33 murals of colorful images of the Humber River, Indigenous stories, and personal experiences of the community. Titled Augmented Representations, the North Etobicoke Mural Project, Arts Etobicoke said in a statement, quote, "This mural was an important opportunity for residents to see themselves reflected in the community and to help redefine the narrative of North Etobicoke." Metrolinx said it was, quote, "always clear that the murals were temporary, but hope to digitally preserve them through photos of the murals as a permanent display in a location in the future, but nothing has been finalized." You can find out more about the Augmented Representations murals at the link on the screen.
All right, here's Reese Martinez with sports.
Thanks, Matt. The Ontario Hockey League is receiving $2.35 million from the Ontario government to support post-secondary education scholarships. According to a Ministry of Heritage, Sport, Tourism and Culture Industries press release from March 17th, each franchise will receive nearly $138,000 to help them meet their player scholarship commitments. As part of the press release, the Minister of Heritage, Sport, Tourism and Culture Industries, Lisa MacLeod, said, We are committed to supporting the sector during the pandemic and ensuring that, through programs like these, sport and recreation remains at the heart of Ontario's communities. The provincial government is investing a total of $15.3 million to support sport and recreation organizations during the COVID-19 pandemic. For this week's Student Athlete of the Week, we spoke with Avery Trask, a soccer player from Humber College. Here's Thomas Karageorgis with the story.
Avery Trask is a first-year fitness and health promotion student at Humber College and is also a member of the Humber Hawks women's soccer team. Since Avery won't get to play her rookie season because of the pandemic, she talks about her training schedule and also recovering from a significant injury.
So before COVID, we were training about once or twice a week, and we had some exhibition games. Even during COVID, we've been doing, you have to do a daily routine of exercises that are sent out in the morning. And then on Tuesdays, we do a team lift through Zoom. So as much as we can try to be a team, we do that as well. So with COVID, when it first began, I actually had just recently broke my foot in a soccer practice with Humber. So for the first about 6 months, I was primarily focused on rehabilitation and bringing my foot back to normal. I was in an air cast for about a month. After my foot was signed off by the doctor and I was able to participate again, I started rejoining the strength trainings and little activities. I'm very lucky to have a home gym. So I can go there and work out for 2 hours. I can take the ball out and there's a turf field right across from my house. So I'm really lucky to have the facilities around me. And I do love to go and spend some time on the field when it's allowed with the COVID restrictions and everything. When I do go outside, my coaches do provide some drills as I email them. They're really open to communication. They're always really good at responding super fast too. If I were to email them in the morning saying that I'm heading out to the soccer field, I'd love some new drills to practice. They're really good at providing YouTube links or just creating drills off the top of their heads, or even providing some drills that they do with the Humber team that you want to get to know a little bit more so you're more involved. They're really good at communicating with that field. I run that field like a game. There's not a time that you won't hear me on the field. I'm a very loud player. I try to help out my team as much as I can. And that also helps brings out the competitive side of me. I don't like to lose. So we always have good pep talks, and I think that's just something that I do really miss. I really miss being able to be out on the field with them. After this year, I'd love to be able to walk away with knowing a few new skills, a few new tricks, or have a little trick in my pocket where I can teach another person. I also want to be able to show my coaches and my teammates that I am a team player. I'm not all about take. I will give. I want to give my 100% every time I step on that field or step into the weight room. And I want to be remembered as the person who will always have a team player's back. So going from first year to second year, I would just want to be able to take away one thing from each person.
Thomas Karageorgis, ENN, Toronto.
A University of Guelph Humber study led by the Early Childhood Studies program head is researching the experiences and feelings of Canadian youth through the COVID-19 pandemic through analyzing their artwork. Child art, which was spearheaded by Dr. Nikki Martin in 2020, focuses on the study of artwork created during the pandemic from children aged 2 to 18. Olivia Palumbo and Emilia Biazzi are fourth-year Guelph Humber students in the ECS program and are a part of the research team for the child art study. ENN interviewed them to gain further insight on their project.
So it doesn't matter kind of where within the pandemic they were when they made that art. It's just either pieces of art that they feel reflect upon their experience of the pandemic, or just things that they kind of created during it and didn't really know that it reflected how they were feeling or what was going on. So it's just a place where people can kind of upload their artwork, and we can then analyze and overview kind of the things that are being put online.
Biazzi says she'd learned that children are feeling lonely or, quote, isolated throughout the pandemic.
Throughout their artwork so far, we've learned that there's a lot of isolation that they're experiencing. I mean, I'm pretty sure you and I have also felt that as well. And through their isolations, it's kind of affecting, their well-being, in the sense that right now, they're not getting the time that they need to spend time with their friends. They're not getting that separation from the home, the school life environment. And a lot of the times with children, especially the older kids that are in high school, the youth, this is their time to find themselves and find their identity and where they are placed in the world.
Biazzi says that with the right resources provided, children will be reassured that they are just as important and their voices are heard.
But I'd really like to see that we can kind of be there for children and adolescents and help provide them with whatever resources that they need, just so they feel that, not only do they have a voice and that their voice matters, but that, we're here to help remind them that they're valid and that everything that they're experiencing right now is valid and that they're valued, and that we can help provide them whatever they need to help support their well-being going forward from this, because we don't really know how children and adolescents and even us, how we're going to be affected by this pandemic even after it's gone.
For more information on child art or to view some artwork, you can visit childart.ca.
It's the bottom of the hour, time for the top of the news. The Congress of Aboriginal People sent letters to municipalities across Canada asking for their support of Bill C-22, which is a proposed criminal code amendment that could lower the rate at which Indigenous people are jailed in Canada. According to the federal government, the new bill will help curb unequal rates at which Black and Indigenous people are sent to jail compared to other groups in Canada.
Plus, York Region Police busted a major car theft ring and seized more than $4.5 million worth of stolen high-end vehicles in the GTA. According to CP24, the investigation, called Project Majestic, focused primarily on the theft of Lexus, Toyota, and Honda sport utility vehicles. Police said 18 people are now facing 170 offenses in connection with the car theft ring, according to CP24. Anyone with more information is asked to call investigators.
And a vaccine boost from our neighbors. The United States announced their plans to lend Canada nearly 1.5 million doses of the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine. According to CBC News, the Biden administration was under pressure to share the vaccine with allies that had already authorized its use. The AstraZeneca vaccine is not and has not been approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. And now you know the news for this week. I'm Matthew Chong.
And I'm Kristen Wong. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Emerge News Now.
And I'm Reese Martinez. Thanks for watching. Take care.